Well, to all those who've watched the Wind-Up Adventures 2, you'd understand and recognise some of the parts that are going to be included in this latest edition of the Wind-Up Review. If you haven't, I recommend you go and have a look at that, and there'll be a little annotation here showing where that is, because it kind of gives you a ground overview of some of the new parts that have been available in this new set of Gacha Vending Machine series available in Australia, from anywhere from $2 to $4. And I have seen them at the awkward price of $3, where you need to have a $2 coin and a $1 coin, and it's just a mess. But we'll talk about that later. But first, before I go on to these new parts over here, there's a couple of little things I'd like to talk about with some of the older models that I've got, and some updates that I've found through other networks. Now, first of all is Diesel 10. In the previous review, I had a look at Diesel 10 as a model, and also talked about his flaw with the very small grooves on his wheels, which meant he doesn't have a lot of traction. Now, I tried putting blue tack into here, but it seems that as that dried up, he returned to his previous "I'm not very good at going around corners / up hills" self. And so I'm really stuck on how to fix him as a locomotive, because despite I had a couple of YouTubers saying, oh, you can just unscrew this screw here, but unfortunately it's actually a lot harder than I thought it would be, and both on him and Stanley and Reneus, trying to unscrew it I felt was going to break the plastic column that it screws into, and so I had to give up my attempt at screwing them in. If anyone's got any suggestions about how I could increase the weight of Diesel 10, let me know, and I have actually tried putting a wagon on the back, but that just didn't work. Now, moving on to some upgrades. As you can see, I've upgraded my James from the Tomy Australia version without the side rods to the James that I found in my local Uncle Pete's store that actually has the side rods included. And so that's a very nice feature. Apart from that, James is identical, except on the undercarriage. But as I put the other James away, let's get out the Percy upgrade, which you would have seen in the latest Tomy Adventures. Now we've seen that the original one that is available from the Gacha Vending Machines has a sad face. And if we have a close look at the undercarriage, we can see that the axle is green, and that we've got a very clean look across the wind-up mechanism. If we have a look at the one from the packet, we can see that he's got a smiley face, which is a little bit crooked, in the same vein that the sad face is a little bit crooked. In fact, actually the crooked like the opposite way, which is a little bit strange. Apart from that, they're identical, except obviously the stickers came from the factory applied, which is why you can see these ones are a little bit not quite on properly. He's got the side rods, but on the bottom we can actually see sort of different winding mechanism design. Not only has he got a metal pin going through his front axles, but he also has these two cutout sections here, and I don't actually know what they do. I haven't noticed any difference in the performance of these, but if someone could tell me the difference between the cutout version of the chassis and the clean one-piece version, I'd love to hear it. We also noticed that on the this version we've got a much larger coupling loop, whereas on this one it's a lot smaller and a lot more refined. And I have to say I don't really know what the purpose of that is, because I think it's harder to couple them up when they have such a small coupling loop, and I really don't think this size change would really increase the integrity or the strength of the part. But anyway. Alrighty, let's get on to the good stuff, and that's the new Thomas Player Hour Part 5. Now, we've got a very similar design to the previous parts, however we've got this new little caption box here, which is new characters and accessories to catch. Expand your Thomas World, collect the full set. So there you go. Now we've got Thomas here, with that same face he's had the whole time. We've got Percy with the sad face, James again, and we've got Diesel, who for some reason in this series is in a box, despite not having a wind-up motor. But remember everyone, we've still got that note there. We've got Tiger Moth, Bertie, Ramp Pieces, the Maithwaite Station, which has come back. We've got Tide, Annie and Clarabelle. We've got the new expanded 6-part track pack. The overbridge is back. We've got the new suspension bridge, Tunnel, a new truck with some loads, and Cranky, who for some reason in this photo is backwards. I don't know who took that photo, but that was really stupid, because you know what, in Thomas and Friends, the engines have faces, and we kind of like to see them. So that was a bit of a poor choice there. But otherwise, it's a very standard wind-up. Now, we've got the two different capsule sizes. We've got this capsule size, which is used for all the capsules, except the suspension bridge, which is actually in a round capsule. So that's something just to interest and remember. Now, as far as I can tell, there's not really a correlation between the colour of the the actual bottom part, as you see, I've got black and I've got yellow, but they're both the same part. And so the original methods of being able to look at the colour and figure out which one was inside don't apply to this set. Now, if we have a look at all the bits that I've got from this set, now excluding one of the coaches and these two ramp pieces, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23. Probably haven't counted that right, but that's okay. And of 23, only one engine with a winder, and that's James, who I haven't opened yet, and one engine without a winder, who is Diesel. So again, we can see that it's really difficult for someone to just like casually collect these, so to speak, without getting heaps and heaps and heaps and looking through all the other different series. As you can see, there's track everywhere, without not getting an engine with a winder. And I think that's a little bit disappointing, and I'd rather have too many Jameses so that I could give some away in a competition, rather than having, as you can see here, all this track, which I still haven't opened because I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep it or have that in my giveaway competition, which will be coming up later in the year towards Christmas time. However, ignoring that, let's jump straight to our characters. So first of all, we've got Diesel. Now, he's exactly the same as Dodge, except obviously he's a different colour. He's got this really small, refined coupling on the back, which I think is a bit annoying because it's kind of hard to couple stuff onto him because it's so far in his body. Coupling on the front. Now, he did have 4 stickers, and the 4 stickers you can probably tell are the ladders. You can see that kind of go around his face. And I have to say they have a habit of coming off on the top, and his buffers actually were also stickers, which I thought was a bit strange. Now, Diesel's got this kind of cranky face, which I have to say I don't mind it, but I don't like the red around the eyes so much. So I think it would have been slightly better for them maybe to have one of his more devious laughing faces than this sad, like, frustrated face, maybe? I don't know. But I think this is actually the only type of Diesel face that has been made, even in the Japanese series, correct me if I'm wrong. But I just think that there's probably a better face that is a little bit less restricting than this one. Because I think that for a base model for a character, I think a happy face, as I've talked about in other parts of this reviews, a happy face can be sad, but a sad face can't be happy, if that makes any sense. And if you watch the first Wind-Up Adventures, you'll understand when there's a line where Percy is overjoyed, but he has a sad face. And it's much easier for someone to be, say Thomas is sad with a smile than to say Thomas is happy with a sad face. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is. So a more neutral expression on him probably would have been better. The next one is really nice, actually. It's the truck. Now, it's the same truck as the grey truck from Series 1. We've got a new face, a smiley kind of squinty face. And we've also got these really cool little truck load things. Now, these are logs, but they're actually flat on the bottom, so they don't roll around, and they sit quite nicely in the truck. Now, I've got the new design with the fixed back, doesn't move, and the new chassis design as well with this one. But that's quite a nice. I really like the bright yellow. Now, if we come to Clarabelle's the one I got for this series. Now we can see she's the same as from the day, the Diesel's one, and we've got the same with Shock Face and the writing. Now, I don't know whether I just wasn't thinking straight and didn't put on the sticker with the writing that said Clarabelle, or whether it didn't actually come with any. So if anyone else has got these, let me know, because I swear I put these stickers on, or I swear I put all the stickers on that were there, but there aren't any stickers on the side. So that's something interesting. But I like that new version of Annie and Clarabelle. They look quite nice with the pink cheeks. Whether that's because they're tired or whether that's because they're blushing, I don't know. But that's fine. The next character we've got is Tiger Moth. Now, Tiger Moth's a bit big for my liking. He does have a moving propeller, which, as you can see, doesn't really work if I blow on it. But it does move. It's a bit stiff, and it has moving wheels as well. But Tiger Moth is ginormous. Like, this is Tiger Moth, and this is Diesel. Yeah, I just thought I'd leave that silent so you can let that sink in. I mean, he just feels way too big to be really of any use. And I mean, like, yeah, it's cool that we have this kind of character, but I don't see what was so hard about scaling him down so that at least he was the same size as the engines, even if he wasn't, smaller like he's probably supposed to be. Like, that is just huge. Like, he is huge compared to the other engines, and I think that's a little bit silly. The same goes for Cranky. Cranky's way too small. If we look at Cranky, he's, if we pile these up, we can probably get 3 of them, and that's about the height of Cranky. Yeah. he's about 3 engines high, which he clearly isn't in the TV series. But Cranky I can get away with, because obviously to have him full size, he'd need to probably be up here somewhere. And so I think the size of Cranky's alright. In fact, he actually had a quite interesting build. And those were stickers. So, you know, you had to put the base on and everything. And I think that he's quite good, because he has a lot of movement. And he also has this going up and down, as well as a little hook on the end. So I actually think Cranky, as a model as he is actually quite good. Probably wouldn't have given him a smiling face, only because Cranky is usually cranky. But it's not like... I still think there's a hint of, like, Cranky in that smiley face. So I'll let that one pass. The next are these 2 tunnel pieces. Oh, focus. Let's go. Yeah, that's enough. The next are these 2 tunnel pieces over here. Very simple, 4-part design. Quite nice. Only fit 1 track through them, because of these little standy things on the bottom. But it's quite nice. I mean, it's very short, but that's in the style of the wind-ups, so I think that's fine. And if you want, you can just, you know, combine them together to make a bigger tunnel. So, very Tomy-esque tunnels, and quite nice little additions to your playset. The next, as you can see, are the Maithwaite stations. Now, they're radically different to the aquariums from the Japanese set, which you can see are much more like buildings. These look a lot more like stations. They're a lot more like the standard Tomy stations you used to get in the Thomas starter sets, and that I have, or what's left of one, with my battery-powered range. You can see that it comes together, so the lamp comes out, this comes apart, this comes off, the fence comes off, this little thing comes off. There were 2 stickers, the clock and the Maithwaite thing, and they were actually really hard to get on, and they keep coming off. I don't know why. So these do fall apart like quite easily. This one's staying together, which is nice. This one, as you can see, is already starting to come apart. There you go. But they're actually very nice, and I think these are a little bit more appropriate stations, especially when combined with a footbridge like so. They look quite nice as stations. Not sure about the scale, but that's okay. So yes, these stations are much improvement on just the overpasses and on the aquarium that we saw in the Japanese version. And now I've finally come to these. I'm leaving these to the last because I think they're really cool, but also really strange. These are the suspension bridge. In the set, you get 1. This is what you get from the capsule. And it's got the 4 pieces of this. You've got the central supporting column thing in the middle, 2 pieces of the track, this part down the bottom, these 2 parts on the sides, and this part joining them up on the top. So it's actually quite complicated, and there are no instructions on how to build them, which I think is a bit of a mistake, because they're quite complicated, and I have to do quite a bit of fiddling, because it all kind of has to wiggle together at the same time. So there really should be instructions for this one, especially for small children, because it's actually quite difficult to put together. Now, as a structure, I actually quite like it. It's quite impressive. It's quite good as a structure. But, again, you end up with the problem of the ramp pieces come separately, as you can see here. And not only do the ramp pieces come separately, but the bridge is a different colour, and I don't like that. I don't like the way they... Like, I see why they put this as a different colour, but if you're going to say, okay, we want the track to be blue, make all the track blue. Why is this track brown? I don't know. More importantly, why is this bridge brown and red? The suspension bridge in Thomas & Friends is only this colour when it hasn't been repainted. And even then, these supporting arches are actually cream and green. So this colour scheme seems really kind of off, which is part of the reason it was in the Tomy video that I made. Because I just think that this is, although it's a cool design, the colours are just really out. And I think that it would be I would much prefer, you know, even like white, these parts to be white and that to be red, rather than this weird brown, which just looks really like dirt. And I think maybe like, it wouldn't have been that hard to have, you know, these parts green, and these parts, the rest of it white if they didn't want to do a cream. And then if they wanted to have this track part in the middle red, then or brown, sorry, I can live with that. But I have to say, they're not very impressive by themselves. So again, you really need a second one, which you can do if you have them around the right way, and you get just an ordinary piece of straight track, which kind of looks a bit stupid because it's the wrong colour. Doesn't want to go together for me. Yes, it does. As you can see, this is quite a bit of a menace to do with one hand. Why don't I use tripods? Oh wait, they don't work. Never mind. Okay, well, you can see that I'm attempting to put these together, and it's failing epically. But you can join them together. Once you join them together, it's a lot more impressive as a whole unit thing. So overall, I'm impressed by this. I think there's a lot of cool parts to this new wind-up series. But I think, again, they've still fallen into the trap of having items that are too exclusive. Like I said, I've got 2 stations, which is fine. The amount of stations, the amount of tunnels, crankies, fine. You really can't have a wind-up set and, after buying 23, only have this much rolling stock. If I got this as a kid, I would be disappointed. That is not enough to play it with. You should have at least half and half rolling stock and everything else. Because let's face it, they're the most important things. You can play without track, which is what I said about the first series. But you can't play without engines to go on the track. And as you can see, I've got all these track packs over here, which is good, because I like track packs. And I've already talked about how you can't have enough curves because they're so hard to get, and the curves are really, gradual, so you need lots to make a loop. But I think you've also got to balance that out with the engines, and when you're going to have structures like this, it's really frustrating. I know it was frustrating for me to get the razors without ever getting a bridge for it. And equally, it'd be very frustrating to have this piece without having the associated track pieces to go with it, because you can't really use them for anything. So I think that's something that Tomy should really think about when they're making these. And I know it's complicated because you can't have all these pieces in one because they're not worth $2 or $4 or whatever anymore. But I think Tomy needs to rethink their strategy so that you can get enough to actually play with. So a kid wants to come back and keep buying things rather than going, I never get Thomas, I'm not buying anymore. So overall, I think the Part 5 is a good evolution of the Tomy Gacha concept in Australia. And I really hope that we get some points with Part 6, because I'm so overusing turntables. Just, don't even talk to me about turntables. I'm getting counselling, don't worry. Anyway, so, it's a good evolution of Part 6, still needs a bit of work, and there's a couple of characters who just don't make any sense. But anyway, that's all I've got time for now. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, comment, rate, anything you think might add your opinion to the voice of Thomas in the world. Thank you for watching, and that's all I've got time for, so bye for now. If you're still here, one last thing I'd like you to point out is that on the newer pieces of track, the writing has actually been printed on in colour, whereas on the older pieces of track, it's actually been printed on 3D in the blue writing. And so I have to say they go more consumer laziness. Like, that looks stupid, because you can see the writing on the track. It looks really dumb. Whereas this looks a lot nicer, because you can't really tell which other way it is where the writing is. So, just a nitpick, there's something that maybe you picked up, maybe you didn't. But I have to say I prefer it when it's not written on in the black sticker, because that's just ugly and in the way. Anyway, bye. Thank you.